validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I did it right this time. All right. So, um, today's a big day. We're supposed to be today's Monday night. Um, and I got to tell you, a lot of stuff happened. We're going to be covering some things that's directly impacting your money. So we're going to be going into this in ways that you probably haven't seen. Well, some of it you've seen, but we're about to go into it a whole nother way, and we're going to be answering some questions that a lot of people have been talking about over the past few weeks that it's been like debate topics, but they actually haven't resolved and answered people's questions with this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and answer those questions because I like to debunk things. Um, but here on This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, we go live 7 nights a week. We do not let the sun rise without going live, and we even though we don't always start on time, and that's why we ask you guys to like and subscribe, mash those reaction buttons, hit those notification buttons so that you know that we went live. So that while you're here, you can get the latest news on some of the things that we've been following over the last few years. Likewise, we also tell you guys to go take a look at the membership because we have successfully had daily rollouts throughout July on the membership. So I'm proud of that. There's more stuff in there than you could ever imagine. And 1 to 2 drops per day into the membership on information that you can need to improve whatever it is that you're trying to improve in your life. And if you don't see what you're looking for, you can always throw something in there and ask me about it, and then I'll be like, all right, let me do some research, and I'll get right back to you. And usually same day responses. Steven says, I've seen the amount on my portfolio rise on my gas and grocery bill this last week. Well, so I seen the I seen the share values that I had go down, which was very fantastic. I love that because that means that I can buy those shares cheaper. And then I seen my overall dividend distribution go up. I was like, yeah, Erie's doing it right. I like what I was seeing. So I check my emails more often than I check a lot of other things. And when I get that email that says, "Hey, you got some money. Congratulations, you got a deposit." And then and then when I randomly go and check my portfolio, and it's, oh well, it's 50 extra dollars in there. Like, dang, I could use this. But instead of me applying it to personal life expenses, I actually just rebalance it back into the portfolio to make sure that I'm distributing the portfolio the way it should be distributed, trying to make sure that I capitalize on the volatility of the market, because with real estate revamping itself over the next 6 months to 2 years, the real estate market is going to be a lot more stringent. And with the war happening, rental properties are going to be a lot more stringent as well, which means that all real estate investment trusts are going to have lower share value, even though the dividends aren't changing. So this is the best time to get in there and get what you can get. Get it for as long as you can, as long as they're blowing shit up. And you said that you've seen gas prices go up, and I'm sitting over here like, I got a gas card. You should be using Upside. I told you about using Upside. Upside give you money back through PayPal. That's a good way to go to get a little bit of change back on the money that they charge you. They're going to charge it to you at the pump. So you might as well get 20, 25 cents a gallon back at the pump if you're using platforms like Upside. And if you forgot where the link is, just let me know, and I will throw another link for you into the membership, because it's free to use. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to pay a membership fee. You just log in. If you've never had the account before, you get a rebate on that. That's even better. And then what you do is you log in, you look for a gas station, you go there, you charge it, and then sometimes they automatically lock in your rebate. And sometimes they have you scan your receipt. So always get your receipt to show them that you used the pump, and then they give you your rebate. And after a certain quantity of money, you decide, hey, I want some money to go put gas in my car. And that's what I used to do. I used to let it stack until I couldn't afford to pay for gas. And then when something happened where I needed gas and I didn't have gas money, I was like, boom, charge it to my PayPal card. But you can always double back and redeposit it back into your bank account from your PayPal account if you wanted to. But I thought that it was very good when I was spending like $1,500 to $2,000 a month on gas, and I was getting an extra $500 a month in free gas. I was like, yeah, boy. So it is a turning point. And that's why we give you guys all this information, because while we go live 7 nights a week, we have different topics every night of the week. Yesterday, we had questions and comments from the fans. Today, we're going to be talking about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. And we do not have an interruption tonight, so we're going to be able to run the full show. Uh, Unless Sterling comes in, we'll be able to run the full show. Because if Sterling comes in, we might last for like 5 hours. He's a good talker. He's a good debater. I love it when he comes to the show. It's just I can't be here till 7 a.m. I'm tired. Either way, um, I don't have anything interrupting me on the back end, which will cause me to end the show early. So I'm going to be doing a full show tonight. And that means we're looking at like 2 to 3 hours worth of discussions on the stuff that we're going to be covering today. Um, but after Mondays, we typically talk about on Tuesdays different ways to make, save, and invest money. Then we have he says, say the word Walmart a few times. Like Beetlejuice. Or if I say Walmart's the greatest too many times. No, I think I might have struck a nerve when I told him how he can invest money in certain ways to build money, make money for himself, so that he doesn't have to rely on um, the limited funding that SSI has. Uh, so I don't know. If he dives back in, I look forward to seeing him. But after Tuesdays, on Wednesday, we talk about different countries around the world that we can live in and potentially invest in. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, um, we talk about self improvement, personal development, uh, relationship topics, raises, promotions, socialization, negotiations, building your brand, uh, um, retirement, forced retirement, termination, and then your 20 and 30-year plan and how important that is for you. Now, side note, I know when I was talking to Stephen about going to Philippines and meeting somebody in the Philippines, and he was concerned about the whole trafficking thing. I actually just seen some information where there's like 8 different ways that you can bring your fiance to America. So you don't actually have to go out there, get married, and bring her back. You can actually go out there, and then you just have to fill out the proper fiance visas. That's not what it's called, but basically it's fiance visas where uh, your intent to move her to the country is in the visa. And they basically just give you like 30 to 90 days to get married once you get back, kind of thing. So that's a different kind of thing. And I was like, oh wow. So it one of the criteria is that you kind of got to know the person, you kind of got to been around them, you kind of got to have to have seen them in person. So if you flew them back, you've at least had 15 hours on a plane with them. But if you go out there and you spend 6 months with them and then you fly them back, then you've had 6 months plus a few hours on the plane with them. And that kind of helps you out with your applications. So I just tell you guys be careful with the paperwork behind things because the paperwork is really what's a killer on people. It's not what we do on a day-to-day basis. It's just how the paperwork is processed. So I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to do some digging on that and see what that's like and see how that is better or worse than the 2-year marriage visa, where if you bring your wife over to America and you've been married for less than 2 years, she's on a temporary visa that is dependent upon her relationship status with you. So we're going to be checking that stuff out. And as soon as I get the details on it, I'll be at least throwing the information into the membership, if not doing a whole show on it. Now, let's go ahead and dive into today's show because we got some skittle diddles that's going through today. I know that you guys recognize that there's been a number that should be making everybody uneasy, and it is not going to be the stock market because if you've been coming to the show as often as I tell you to, you would notice that now you're going to be excited about the stock market, not afraid of it. It's also not going to be the national debt. I mean, some people really give a shit about the national debt, but the national debt doesn't take money out of your rent. But it's going to be 55%. 55% is something that people are worried about. According to a recent Gallup poll, a record 55% of Americans say that their personal finances are getting worse right now. Steven just verified gas and groceries is hot in the sun, bitch. That 55% is the highest that number has been since Gallup started asking the question back in 2001. And it is higher than the initial shock of the 2020 pandemic. It's even higher than the readings during the depths of the 2008 Great Recession. Y'all remember them recession flags, the black and silver flags? Yeah. He said the cost of chicken wings is the number one stress. I don't understand why you stressing about chicken wings. I don't understand why you're stressing out about chicken wings. And the reason why I don't understand why you're stressing out about chicken wings is because the average person finds so much value in the little bitty ass bullshit ass chicken wings to say that they eating legitimate chicken wings. But you're not eating legitimate chicken wings. You eating baby chickens. What you should be doing is eating grown ass big mama size chicken wings. That's a real ass fucking wing. The wing fits in the palm of your hand like it take up the whole space. That's a real chicken wing, you know. And a chicken leg, you might need 2 hands to eat that bit. That's a whole chicken. And I'm not talking about this with the little teeth. I'm talking about like you get that bit heavy. You know what I mean? Uh, People go to the store and they buy the Tyson's chicken wings because it say Tyson on it. But you could just really go down to the poultry section and go buy the 20 pack of actual legs, and then right next to it, the 20 pack of actual boneless chicken breast, and just do you some light meat, dark meat, and grill that shit up at the house. You have some really good chicken legs. That's just my personal opinion. He said, I can't say no when the cost is rising I need the big wings. As I'm trying to tell you, you're not gonna find big wings at no grocery store. I mean, well, you're gonna find big wings at the grocery store. You're not gonna find big wings at like Wingstop or some shit like that, or like Buffalo Wild Wings or something like that. Places that make wings, they're gonna give you the little small ass, same size as a fucking bullet, little tiny ass little wings and call that wing. That 20-piece wing don't even fill you up. It a 20-piece wing would be like two legs and two wings from each chicken, right? Which means that you ultimately got to eat 10 little baby chickens to not be full. I just want you to think about that real quick. As opposed to eating like two adult sized chicken and being full. I kind of feel like we're wasting baby chickens. And they're overpriced baby chickens. That's my thought process on that. Because you don't they don't make adult chickens smaller. They just kill the chicken sooner. That's where the chicken wings are gonna come from. Do your research, you're gonna find out. Soon as them bitches stop having yellow feathers and start turning into white and brown feathers, pluck them and roast them up. They don't even got to be adult size no more. Now, this crisis with financing is not just a headline. It is the silent crushing stress at the grocery store, just like Steven's been talking about. It's the pit in your stomach when you look at your electric bill. I know I told y'all when I seen mine hit 300, I was like, fuck that. We turning off everything. Y'all heard that slurping stuff over here. I got a big ass AC system sitting right next to me. Instead of having an air conditioning system on, I got a little bitty ass thing right here blowing cold water on me. That way I can stay cool while I do the podcast because I'm not about to have no heat stroke up in here with that giant ass spotlight over there making it hotter in here. I got the window open over here. It's hotter than the bitch, right? It's also going to be the anxiety when the rent is due, wondering if your paycheck will stretch far enough this time because you know after you done paid your rent and your lights, your gas, and your water, unless you charged all that shit to your credit card, you done ran out of money. You need gas for the next couple of weeks until you get paid, and you ain't even went and bought food yet. It's gonna be that feeling of running faster and faster on the treadmill that is picking up speed just to stay in the same place. Trying to told y'all for millions and millions. That treadmill is now going backwards. It's a nice show. We're going to ignore the talking points and the political spin and break down the real numbers behind this national anxiety. So we're going to be looking at precisely how specific costs are draining your bank account, even if your income seems stable. We're going to explore what it truly means when the majority of people in one of the wealthiest nations on earth feel like they are losing ground. And most importantly, we're going to talk about why. And if you feel like this is what it is, like you're not alone. Like this is some bullshit. If you feel that way, you're not alone. All right. So this isn't a personal failure for you. It's a mathematical reality for over half the country. Money is tight right now. So as people are creeping into August, knowing the school's about to start, if you got kids, you got to be trying to pay for your kids. If you don't got kids, you sitting over here wondering how people with kids do it because you spending all your motherfucking money. You ain't even got no play money no more. Money is just tight. I just want you to understand everybody's feeling that grip right now, right? We trying to rub two pennies together to make a dollar, squeeze blood out of a turnip. All them sayings, yep, it's tight. We ain't even trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. We trying to rob Peter and Paul so we can go get some groceries. It's crazy. Now, when Gallup asked people why they feel their finances are getting worse, the answers were painfully specific. At the top of that list, cited by nearly a third of all Americans, was one overwhelming pressure: the high cost of living and inflation. And me and FX Trader talked about this a couple days ago in length. And I wish I did not have to go so soon so that me and Trader could have finished that conversation. Today is the day, FX Trader, if you're here, special shout out to FX Trader. Today is the day to talk about inflation. Because Trader felt bad because I was like, yeah, that's a side topic. That's not what we talk about today. But today we're talking about it. So Think about inflation for a minute. The number one financial problem for American families is the simple, brutal math of everyday life. But it gets more specific. Coming in tied for second place are two massive expenses: energy and housing. 13% of Americans named the soaring cost of gas and utilities as their single biggest financial burden. Another 13% pointed to the impossible cost of rents or mortgages. What this data shows is that the 55% figure isn't just an emotion, it's a calculation. And it is the direct result of non negotiable monthly bills growing faster than the money coming in. And this isn't about wanting a new car or a bigger TV. This is about struggling to afford food, shelter, and the gas to get to the job that is supposed to be paying for all this shit. And this is where the official story starts to diverge from reality. The Urban Institute, a respected nonpartisan research group, created the American Affordability Tracker. And what it found is going to be staggering. As of April 2026, they just did an analysis not too long ago, April 2026. They found that 49% of people in American families do not have enough resources to cover the essential expenses to live a secure, basic life in their communities. I just want you to let that sink in for a minute. Half the country now don't got enough. This highlights the gap between the economic headlines and your bank account. The official consumer price index, or CPI, is the inflation number that you hear on the news. But some analysis suggests that a true living cost matrix, which weighs essentially for low and middle income families more heavily, has risen significantly faster than the CPI. It's like your personal inflation rate is much higher than the national one because your budget is dominated by the very things that are getting the most expensive. It's the reason why even your boss gives you a raise and you go to the grocery store still feeling even poorer than what you was before you got the raise. Your dollar is being diluted, like adding water to orange juice or not adding sugar to the Kool-Aid. Still have the same amount of juice, but it's weaker. It's less satisfying. It's like putting water in your milk for cereal. You know something essential has been lost. And that's going to be the story of purchasing power in America today for tens of millions of people. So let's get specific. Where's the money going? The data points to three head monsters that are actively eating away at household budgets. That gas pump, first thing Steven said when the show started, the landlord and the utility company. These aren't luxuries. These are non negotiable costs of modern life, and recently they have become instruments of financial pain. He said the only way to beat inflation is to buy healthier foods and cook at home. Yes, yes. I can't even challenge that. I had to stop and think about buying healthier foods because it depends on what you consider healthier foods. If you steer away from junk foods, the food is cheaper and it's going to be more fulfilling because junk foods taste good, but you're still hungry after you finish eating it, which means that even though it costs more money for smaller portions, you're still not full after you've had your snack, your junk food. Um, Healthier foods are going to be cheaper. They're going to be more filling. They're not going to taste as fantastic as junk food, but um, you'll find yourself getting fuller faster. So yeah, that is true. And cooking at home is going to be a lot cheaper than going out to eat. Because I mean, when you think about cooking a meal at home, you could probably cook 40 or 50 burgers at home for the same price as like two number one value meals at McDonald's. You know, you be spending almost $50 on two sandwiches, two fries, and two drinks at McDonald's when you could spend $50 and kind of like do a cookout at the house for the neighborhood, which I don't recommend because if the neighborhood ain't putting some meat on the grill, they ain't eating off the grill. That's what I'm rugged. I'm rugged. If I ever go to somebody else's barbecue, I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna bring me two trays of some shit that I done prepped up myself and a bag of coals. That way, whatever fuck you got going on, you can just take my shit and add it to it. And then you get some of what I brought to pay you for your service or cooking it up. And then I got a whole tray full of shit and I can walk off with it. So can't nobody say, oh man, he came in and he just took. Nah, he brought more than he left with. If nothing else, and you keep the bag of coal, the coal is freaking expensive. Just saying. But let's start with the one that hits everybody every week, which is the price at the gas pump. I tried to warn y'all for the last 2 months to get those gas cans and fill them fuckers up before gas prices went up, but gas prices went up. So nothing impacts the national mood quicker, quite like the big bright number on that sign by the side of the road. Earlier this year, provides a dramatic example. So, in late February 2026, geopolitical tensions flared with that conflict in Iran, right? And the market reacted. According to the Urban Institute, the national average for gas rose by a full dollar in the following week, reaching nearly $4 a gallon. I was at that time hitting like 280 something, 289, 287. And there were people in certain places getting $4 a gallon by late March. I got to about 390 or 387 where I'm at. But and in some areas in Tampa, in June, the last week of June, I had seen 355. But like if you go to New York and California and probably Washington State, and it might be closer to 550. But a dollar per gallon jump in less than a month is a brutal and sudden shock to anybody's budget, especially when you estimate how much gas you're going to use week to week, how much money you're going to spend on that gas, tank to tank. You didn't put this money aside, and then all of a sudden the price spikes, and now you don't got enough money to fill your tank, or after you fill your tank, you don't got enough money to buy something else that you was planning on buying for the month. Yeah, that's that bullshit. As of mid July 2026, the national average is still hovering nearly around $3.90 in some areas. So, what does this actually mean for your wallet? Well, let's do some math. The average American drives about 1,000 to 1,200 miles a month. If you have a reasonably efficient car that gets something close to 25 miles to the gallon, that's 40 gallons of gasoline a month. That extra dollar per gallon means an extra $40 per month on gas, or nearly 500 extra dollars a year. You think that's not a lot of money, but that 40 extra dollars of gasoline is the damn water bill, because most people water bill between 35 and $45 a month already, unless you got like swimming pools and industrial sized washers and dryers in your house with five folks living in them. And that money just vanishing from your budget. And that's for one car. For a family with two commuters, that number doubles. It's nearly $1,000 a year. And that's going to be a tax on just getting to work. And that's if you're not wasting money on recreational driving, taking your kids to school, buying groceries. Geez, that's extra. But the energy shock doesn't just stop at the pump, it follows you home. According to the Urban Institute, the average American household is now paying about $40 per month for electricity more than they were in 2017. Now, this is going to be due to a combination of higher fuel costs and massive necessary investments in an aging grid. Now, remember, I told you guys that when they start working on those nuclear power plants and all that other shit, that they put the cost off on the consumer during construction phase. So while they're making all of these economic improvements to the power grid, it is not going to be a benefit on our cost dollar average until like 25 years from now. Look at what I said. I called it. I quoted it, and I'm showing y'all the data. So if we add that up, we have an extra $40 a month for gas and another $40 a month for electricity. Right there, that's an extra $80 a month or more, which is something like $960 a year for one person, double that for two people, just vaporized from the family budget. And we haven't even talked about housing, food, or healthcare yet. It's a constant draining pressure that leaves less and less room for everything else. So if the energy crisis was a sudden shock, the housing crisis is a slow, grinding bleed. And for decades, the rule of thumb was that you shouldn't spend more than 30% of your income on housing. I'm telling you, hell, your whole standard of living should be under 30% if you do it right. But if your whole standard of living is under 50% and your housing cost is under 30%, you're at least doing okay. Today, for millions of Americans, that rule is going to be a cruel joke. One recent study found that since 2019, national rents have jumped by about 34%. So while the wages only increased about 27% in the same period, we have that 34% jump. That sucks, doesn't it? That's an extra 7% higher on housing than income since 2019. That's 7 years. Do you feel lucky with the number seven right now because you have 7% more cost of housing in 7 years, but you got 7% less to pay for it in 7 years? That's full sevens. I don't feel too lucky. Look, you don't need to be an economist to understand what those numbers mean, guys. When the biggest bill that you pay every month is rising faster than your income, you are going to fall behind eventually. And it is a mathematical certainty. You are living in the negative. Some of the most sobering data on this comes again from the Urban Institute Tracker. Their analysis found that while average earnings grew by about 43% since 2017, the cost of shelter grew much faster than that. And they found that over the same period of time, the national home prices exploded to by 81%. And average rents climbed 54%. Think about those numbers real quick. Your paycheck went up by 43%. The price of housing went up 81%. The rent for apartments went up 54%. Yeah, this is the very definition of falling behind while standing still. It explains why home ownership feels like a distant dream for so many young people. It explains why renters feel trapped, with every lease renewal bringing another heart stopping increase. He says, looking for an apartment by my college or double and the same than my old city. Shit, I don't even know why you looking for college apartments. If you cohabitating with pops, you need to stay with pops and save your money up. On campus living could be upward of like $2,000 a month for the 3 months. And then when there's no school, sometimes on campus living, they force you to leave the dorms. And then the apartment complexes near the school are almost the same price as on campus living. So you're not really going to find much cheap or affordable housing near the school. You're going to have to go 20 minutes away from the school to find affordable housing near the school. It has to be more than walking distance, but still a short driving distance away. So you're talking about 10 minutes driving distance, 15 minutes driving distance away from the school where you can't walk to school. That's outside of the radius of the school. The rent will be cheaper. But as long as you can like move in and walk to campus or like catch one of the campus vehicles to camp, no, that shit's gonna be overpriced like a son of a bitch. And that's because they have a high turnover of people. Most colleges have a few 100,000 students or more, which means that the rental properties next to that university is always going to be packed at like 80% capacity. And I mean, they don't really have to give a shit about because the students are going to be there until the semester's over, so they can do a short-term lease instead of 1 year leases. They can do 3 month leases. You move in August, you move out in December. I know that's not 3 months, but I mean, like they could do like semester style leases, like short term leases instead of you having 12, 18, 24 months. It's like, well, you move in August, you move out in December, you move back in January, you move out in June or May, you move back in August, which means from June until May, they can renovate the apartment, raise the rent. Then when you come back, you got to pay more when you come back for the same fucking unit. It's in better condition, but the cost. And this isn't just happening in expensive coastal cities anymore. The affordable crisis has spread across the country. So the math is going to be punishing, relentless, and it's a huge driver of that 55% number. It's the feeling that the most basic needs and roof over your head, something everybody's going to need, and it's always one of the most expensive things that we talk about in every country around the world that we cover. It's becoming a luxury. The basic standard of living of having a roof over your head is becoming a luxury. Oh, and make sure that y'all stay swing through here because me and Steven was talking about tipping after the gratuity, and I'm gonna be covering that today too. So make sure that y'all like and subscribe and mash those reaction buttons because as we get through this topic, you're gonna see me talk about the tip after the tip. We're gonna cover that today. So beyond gas and rent, there's gonna be a slow moving glacier of cost that threatens to crush family budgets, and that's gonna be healthcare and childcare. And these are the ultimate non-negotiables. You can't just decide to cut back on life savings, medicine, or shopping around for cheaper childcare when you have to go to work. He says, I gave up on that. Oh, did you do it the way I told you to do it and tip them $5 or $10 before you sat down and then ate your food and walked out the door? Because I mean, if you didn't, then you didn't do it right. He says, tips I just give, no matter what, if service is good. Right. But I told you that your experience was going to be better if you tipped the server before you started asking for shit instead of tipping them after you ask for shit. That's what you were supposed to be testing. Is the quality of service better if I tip them before they serve me as opposed to tipping them after they serve me? That's what you were supposed to be talking about. Micah says, how much space do you need to be able to live in? This man said 240 square feet. Are you living in a cabin in the woods? He said in China, you would have 4 people living there. He ain't lying either. Bro, in China, 240 square feet apartment is a large space, but they know how to consolidate. They got fold up everything. Then they sleep on futons on the floor. Everybody stay in the same room kind of stuff. If you got a bathroom in your unit, you're living a lifestyle because most people go to the community toilet and the community shower. Y'all, you get to socialize in a culture like that. But, you know, I don't know. Me being the only person that hung longer than most people arm, I think I'd be the center of attention at the bathhouse. Because they be looking at me like, damn, your shit got my goatee beat. He said these people act confused every time I try that. Where are you going? Where are you going? the quality of the service is gonna partially be the type of restaurants that you're going to, but the other part of the quality of the service is establishing um when you first get there and you meet your server, this is for you, and then sit down and start trying to do your thing. I know you had the confusing thing about paying the bill beforehand. And paying the bill beforehand is it's an upscale skill set, and low value people don't know how to do that. So when you try it, it doesn't work as well with low value people that you're working with because they don't have that mindset of, oh, he's paying in advance. And one of the reasons why they don't have that mindset is because they believe that they keep the check open, they can continue to upsell you to a certain degree, and then um like work on your whatever. But let's say, for example, if you looked at the menu, you know what you wanted before you got to the restaurant, you have a reservation or whatever, you get to the restaurant, you meet your server. Sometimes you get sat by a hostess first. So when you get set by the hostess, especially if you're sitting there by yourself, because you want to practice this when you're doing it by yourself, you bring cash so that you don't have to tip them on your card. That prevents them from fucking with the finances at the back. But you bring cash. If you say, well, what I'm about to order today, if I'm going to give them $20 for tip, I'm going to give them $20 for tip. But if what I'm about to order today, I should give them $10 for tip, I should have $10 in my pocket to give them a tip. When they walk up and say, how you doing? My name is so and so. I'm going to be your server today. Here's $10. That's it, right? Oh, thank you, right? All right. Now I want this, and this, and please bring my check. That's it. Now, if you're able to remember those steps, you will be capable of getting whatever it is that you need to get. And now you can just sit down and eat. Your server's been paid, the bill's been paid. They should come back and want to uh, uh, offer you more stuff and make sure that you got something else to drink and blah, 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 to make sure that you're satisfied since you already paid them in advance. And then at that situation, you would be able to say, all right, I'm done, and walk out. As long as you didn't ask for more than what you paid for initially, you don't got to settle anything because you settle it before they brought you the food. Um, I know that I was able to cash out my checks like 5 or 10 years ago. So I know that if I'm clear that I'm not buying anything else and I want my check now, that they will bring it before they bring the food. And I will be able to pay for it and everything and wrap it up before I even start eating. So by the time the food gets to the table, all I have to do is eat and leave. And if they ever get confused, I let them know something simple like I'm on call and I will walk out of here sporadically. So I would prefer to pay for it now so that I don't have to leave you without the check paid for later. Greatly appreciate your help. And after I tell them that, they make sure that they bring me my shit now so that I can pay for it now so that later on, I don't even need it to go back. I got to go. And I just get up and walk out. Right now, as far as setting up a dinner date and negotiating with management and all of this other stuff, credit cards on file, this, that, and the third. That's the kind of stuff that you do the day before the date. Set everything up. Let them know, hey, I'm coming with somebody. It's going to be me plus one. We're going to spend like $500 in the restaurant. I want you to pre-charge my credit card $500, and the remainder is the tip for the server. Period. That's it. We're not going to order more than $500 worth of stuff. I'm not going to allow it. That's it. Now you go there, you get your $500, you get your receipt that proves that you bought $500 worth of shit, or they gave you $500 worth of whatever, and then that's it. The next day you come to the restaurant, y'all sit down, y'all order whatever y'all are gonna order. You could tell them, hey, give my regards to the manager, so that the supervisor on duty is the one you talked to yesterday, is the one on duty today, so they know the arrangement, and they're going to make sure everything's good. And by the time they finish with that, you can just up and walk out the door because they've already charged your card for what you were about to ask for, and whatever's left over goes to the server. Michael says, in New York, some places are less than 100 square feet and cost about $1,900 per month. Yeah, they probably do, with the way they charge $5,500 a month for an apartment in New York. And efficiency is anything less than 800 square feet. You living in a box. You living in a closet space. It basically just enough to sleep get up and go on about your day because you can't afford to do shit else. He says, I've cut out restaurants and will do so for the rest of the year, except for grabbing wings to go at a dive bar uh, that I like, and I will try it again next time I take a woman out. You should practice it for yourself while you're by yourself. And then once you've mastered it, then you can use that technique when you go to take a girl out because you've mastered it. If you have a place that you frequent as a single individual, and then you decide that you want to go to this place on a date with the person that you just met, you're not inviting her, you're not offering her to say, I will take you wherever you want to go. It's like, no, I know this place, it's got good food. I want you to come and enjoy the food with me. If she doesn't want to go, fuck you. I'm going anyway because I go there all the time. And that's a different level of confidence. If you're the kind of man that says, oh, now I got a date for Christmas or Valentine's Day, where should I take her? Well, I should take her to the same fucking place that I always go when I go to get something this time of year, and that way it's not you don't have to ask for her permission to select a location. You're going to take her to a location that you think is good. And if you've already established a relationship with that location, you should be able to let that location know in advance. Hey, I'm going to be bringing a date. I want to pay for everything in advance. That way, if we got to leave for whatever reason, everything's already paid for in advance. That way you're setting limits and you're doing it the day before. So even if there's some confusion, if you're doing it the day before, there's no confusion the day of. And now you can go to the restaurant the day of the date, do everything, still show up a little bit early, meet the manager, verify everything's okay, get there before the date, before she does, because women drive their own cars these days. Make sure that everything's copacetic and squared away from the day before. By the time she gets there, oh, I hope I haven't kept you waiting. No, I just got here. And now you're going to sit down. You guys are going to knock everything back. Good to go. Dinner's over. Time to walk out. And that's really how you knock it. And practicing that, guarantee you'll find yourself in a situation where you're doing good. Even with the dive bar. Even with the dive bar. Take the dive bar. You go there. You always order a specific quantity of wings. And if you go there quite frequently, you should be able to go to that same dive bar, talk to the manager, say, hey, you know, on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I need my 20 plus wings or my 40 plus wings. I don't have the time to wait in line with everybody else because I got to go to my second job. I'm a college student, blah, 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 blah. If I paid you to have my stuff ready before I got here, I don't care if it's cold or not. I want to get it when I want to get it, and I'm going to show up and I'm going to come and get it. And you're going to take care of me, and it's going to be paid for, and I ain't got to wait. They'll set something up where you can walk into that dive bar and they'll be like, Steven, just like Cheers. It was Steven, got your wings, bro. And you can just dap them up and walk out. Card on file. You can just in and out. And everybody else on the dive bar be like, damn, I've been waiting 30 minutes for some fucking wings. This motherfucker wings was sitting at the register when he walked in. It's the difference between establishing a positive relationship with not just the server, with upper management, so that they can overrule the servers when the servers don't know what the fuck they're doing. Michael says, I prep my meals for several days, so I'm not cooking every day. The rest are put in the fridge. That's a good idea, Michael. That's one way to save money. That's what I would do instead of ordering wings at a dive bar. I would just order the stuff to make wings at the house and then make a shit ton of wings at the house, deep fryer and all. By the time I finish cooking the wings at the house, I got so many wings at the house, I'm tired of fucking chicken. Now, back to the main topic. The fear surrounding the cost is going to be profound because there was another Gallup poll that found that a staggering 60% of Americans are worried about being unable to pay for medical costs in the event of a serious illness or accident. And nearly half are going to be worried about affording normal routine healthcare. So this fear acts as a hidden tax on our well-being. Now, it's a decision to not go to the doctor instead of getting the treatment that you need because you don't believe that you can afford it. The hope that a toothache will just go away instead of getting it taken care of. And the terror of a surprise diagnosis that you can't afford to maintain, not just for the health implications, but for the financial ruin that could follow finding out about what's going on with your body. Now, for families with young children, this pressure is compounded by the astronomical cost of childcare. The Urban Institute notes that the average annual price of care for two young children is over $29,000 a year. That's a cost that has grown dramatically and far outpaced most people's earnings. It creates an impossible choice for many parents. Do you work just to have most of your paycheck consumed by childcare, or do you leave the workforce sacrificing income and career progression? Now, this crisis of affordability is going to extend to the next generation as well. It says, I spend more time in the dental chair. I think I own it. Well, I mean, I don't see why you spending so much time in the dental chair because at 70 something years old, you should have you some denture cream where you just fix a dent and forget it. Your teeth should be in a jar next to the bed. So I don't understand what you're spending so much time at the dentist for besides talking to the nurse. I could see you at a primary care physician working on all the warts and everything that you got going on, but I can't see you at a dentist like all the dang time. What they doing a root canal on each one of the 34 teeth? He got 12 root canals a year. Oh, you still got your teeth? I know. If you bought them, they yours. And if you got veneers where they screw in, they're yours because you paid for them. Or at least that's how women say, "It's my hair. I paid for it." Or you still got your original teeth. Oh, okay. Look, now I'm talking shit in 40 years. I might be trying to fix this shit in there myself. Now, that same Gallup data has shown that 40% of Americans now worry about being able to afford the college educations for their children as well as themselves. Now, this fear shapes the dreams that we have for our kids, turning a source of hope into a source of stress. Now, these costs of childcare, healthcare, and education are why so many families who, on paper, have a good income still feel perpetually on the edge, where they don't ever believe that they are in the right place to be ready for a family. And they are one bad diagnosis or one job loss away from disaster. And they are living with no margins for any kind of error. He said, in 40 years, I hope to be around to see that. At 70, if you are around to see that, hopefully you president, because that would make you like what 110, 111. You would be really up there in age. They should be paying you to stay alive. You should be getting the extra severance check to stay alive. You'd be looking like Monty Burns. Excellent. So if you've been nodding along, right? And if this sounds like, your life right now, if shit ain't going the way it's supposed to go, let me know in the comment section. What's the one cost? Steven said gas, Michael said dental work. What's the one cost that's hitting your budget the hardest? Is it going to be the gas, the rent? Is it the grocery bill? I think I'm spending like $500 a month on groceries right now, where I was spending like $300 a month on groceries before the war. By sharing these stories, we can see just how widespread this really is. Now, we're a quarter of the way through, y'all. We've looked at a lot of numbers, and numbers are the cold, hard proof of what's happening. But behind every data point is a human being. There's a family, a story of quiet desperation. The 55% figure represents millions of people sitting at their kitchen tables late at night trying to figure out which bill they can pay late this month. And it's the gnawing stress that makes it so hard to sleep and put a strain on relationships. It's the feeling of shame, the idea that you must be doing something wrong because despite working harder and harder than ever, You're still falling behind financially. He says, groceries hands down. Groceries expensive than the motherfucker. We don't buy snacks no more. We entertainment, nothing. That my entertainment is walking around the block with a dog. That's I have found entertainment between Netflix and wearing my dog's nerves. I'll be wait till he's sleeping. I go over there go do something to him, poke him with a hairbrush or something. Oh boy. So we want to pause real quick and we want to say the most important thing in this entire show. If you feel this way, that it is not your fault, guys. You are not failing. The system is failing you. And this is not the result of buying too much avocado toast or too many lattes, because it's a population that is trying to do the right thing and is finding that the ground is crumbling beneath their feet. I want you guys to understand that. They say you're not doing anything wrong. Inflation is killing us. That's damn true. It economic crises that is impacting inflation is kicking your ass. We're all in this together, y'all. Y'all gotta understand that it ain't just your decision making skills. It is just that it ain't going where it's supposed to go. Psychological weight of what we're experiencing right now is going to be immense, because there's a 2026 study from uh, Allen's Allen's Life. Is that who that is? Yes. I done got so many studies, half of them I can't pronounce. Allen's, Allianz, Life. Allen's. Whew, got to be Arabic. This study found that 67% of Americans are more worried about running out of money than they are about dying. So if you think, let that sink in for a second. Two-thirds of the population is right now got the fear of financial ruin that is more present and more terrifying than their own mortality. Like, I might outlive being broke as fuck, as opposed to I might die soon and no longer have to deal with this bullshit. This is going to be the hidden crisis behind the numbers. It's the crisis of dignity. It's the erosion of the belief that if you work hard and play by the rules, that you can build a decent life. For 55% of Americans, that promise now feels like a lie. And the profound sense of hopelessness that comes with that realization is a danger to the very fabric of our society. Now, you might be hearing a voice in your head, maybe from the news anchor or politician, saying, but wait, wages are up. The economy is strong. You're watching a Donald Trump campaign. And on the surface, they're not wrong. Okay. I want you to understand that. Your nominal paycheck, the actual dollar amount on it, is likely bigger than what it was a few years ago. Right. But this is going to be the great cruel lie of the modern economy. It's the difference between nominal wages and real wages. Understanding this is the key to understanding why you feel poor even as you earn more money. Michael says, we're afraid of running out of money before we die. I worry about it all the time. Everybody, and at your age, you're going to be more concerned about running out of money before you die than I am, because you have less opportunities to bounce back off of running out of money than I do. Because at your age and your health level, there's certain things that you're not able to do right now that I can still do. And that's going to say the same for me in comparison to somebody that's 20 years old, somebody half my age. I'm going to be more concerned about it than somebody in their early 20s, primarily because they're going to have another income that subsidizes them. at 18, 19, 20 years old, they got mom and dad that'll pay for them, auntie, uncle that'll pay for them. Some of them young enough got girlfriends and boyfriends paying for them. They have not been in a situation where they're fundamentally on their own financially, and a lot of the times the primary source of income for other people in their house. If I run out of money, I will pick up a guitar. What you gonna do with a guitar? Yeah. So wait, so you're telling me, Steven, that if you run out of money, you're gonna just out of the woodwork, just WWF Jeff Jarrett folk, and just become a WWE superstar, and just start busting asses and making you some money that way? He said you'll get that too. Shit, nah, you don't understand. I'm already there, Michael. I'm already there. I've been worrying about my. I got more money now than what I've ever had before coming through with things getting taken care of in ways that I ain't never had the ability to take care of them before. But at the same time, the ability to do all of the things that need to be done versus the timeline that money comes in, there's more stuff that needs to get done than the quantity of money that comes in. So ultimately, I have to delay things that I have to determine are not essential to make sure that I can take care of the essential and still have money left over for the unexpected. So I'm still worrying about shit. I'm just not worrying about it the way everybody else is worrying about it. I have accomplished a better work life balance, but I still have not accomplished a surplus of capital where I don't have to work at all. But I mean, if Steven's going to pick up a guitar, I'm going to have to pick up a steel chair and a table. And we're going to have to bring back ECW. We're going to have to figure something out. Because from what I hear, they be getting paid like 40 grand to get their ass whooped every week. And if you start mainlining on pay-per-views and shit, they give you a guaranteed $1 million a year. I'm like, oh, so all I gotta do is just get my ass whooped for like a year and have enough people want me in the backstage area, and then all of a sudden I'm a multi-millionaire. Gotta rethink my life. So let's identify the difference between nominal wages and real wages. A nominal wage is going to be simple. The number on your paycheck. If you got a 4% raise, your nominal wage went up 4%. Real wages are what actually matters. Real wages are your income after you account for inflated costs. It's a measure of your purchasing power. What can your dollars actually buy today? So here's an analogy. Imagine that you have a glass that holds 10 ounces of water. That's your paycheck. Now, imagine someone starts slowly pouring salt into your glass. Even though you still have 10 ounces in the glass, you can't drink as much of it. That salt is inflation. It's ruining the value of what's in your glass. Your real amount of drinkable water has gone down, even though the nominal level is going to be the same. This is what has been happening to American workers. For example, Bureau of Labor Statistics data from the year ending in March of 2026. That's a few months ago, y'all. Showed that while nominal average hourly earnings went up 3.5%, inflation also went up 3.3%. That means that real wages barely budge, increasing only 0.3%. And some months, the numbers are even worse, showing real wages going down. This isn't new. For decades, the link between productivity and pay has been broken since the late 1970s when Michael was 20. The productivity of the American workers has soared, but the wages of the typical worker have barely moved. When adjusted for inflation, the new wealth created by that productivity did not flow to the people that are doing the work. He said the value of your dollar is only 43 cents. Pretty much. He said, that's your buying power. Yes, sir, it is. That and 43 cents on every dollar that you're making mean that you throwing away 57 cents on a dollar. You're not valuable as much as you thought you was when you're getting paid by the hour. 43 cents on a dollar. And women are complaining about the wage gap. Yeah. Look, when you hear that wages are up, remember the salt in the water cup. Remember to ask, are real wages up? Because for millions of Americans, the answer for a long time has been no. The raises are margin and they're disappearing as soon as you try to spend it. Nowhere in this disconnect between work and survival more obvious than at the bottom of the pay scale. So the foundation of our labor market is supposed to be the minimum wage, which is a floor to ensure a basic level of dignity. Federal minimum wage today is about $7.25 an hour, which Sterling had argued a couple of weeks ago. It has not been raised since 2009. Yeah, I've done some digging on this. For over 15 years, the legal wage floor has been frozen while the cost of everything has marched relentlessly upwards. Let's be clear about what $7.25 an hour means. It means that you're working 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, and you will earn $15,080 before taxes. That is near or below the federal poverty line for many households because the federal poverty line is somewhere around $30,000. It's a wage that can guarantee poverty, not prevent it. Now, the purchasing power of the minimum wage has collapsed. In 1968, the federal minimum wage has its highest value in real terms. In today's dollars, it would be worth around 12 or $15, depending on inflation matrix used. So our current minimum wage isn't just low, it's historically weak. Now, contrast the minimum wage with a living wage. And before I get into living wage, I just want to point out federal law dictates a mandatory minimum wage. Special shout out to Note. How you doing, Note? State law can provide an alternative wage that is higher or lower than the federal law. There is a standard law that whichever one is higher, be it state law or federal law, that is the one that applies. So if 725 is the minimum federal law and 515 is the minimum in Louisiana, the employees must get no less than 725. Now, if 725 is a federal law and 15 is the minimum in California, Florida, New York, then the lowest that the employees can get is 15. So while the national average is calculated at a certain amount, federally, state law can override that and give you a higher minimum wage mandatory for big business to pay you. Yes, 725 minimum wage federal, not federal and state. So state can provide you with a higher minimum wage requirement in your city or state. And they're not the same state by state. So a living wage isn't a political number. It is a budget-based calculation of what it actually costs a family to afford a no-frills standard of living. No frills meaning no fucking fun. Literally. Not all states though. Not all states. There are a lot of states that are higher than the federal wage, but not all states are higher than the federal wage. There are states that are still under $7 an hour. There's some states that are 675, some states that are 525, 575. There are some states, primarily in the South, that are the minimum wage is lower. But in like more developed states, states with higher populations in them. Like I said before, California, New York, Florida, the state wage is fundamentally higher. But you also have in practice wage, that is the socially expected wage. That is, even though it is like some areas are like $10 an hour on paper is what you're required to get, but to stay competitive wages, most companies are offering $15 an hour or $17 an hour just to get you to come work for them. And that's becoming the normal behavior, even though that's not law. So not all the states have the wage requirement there. And that's going to be one of the reasons why the law hasn't been reconsidered to raise the minimum wage floor, is because social practice supersedes the law's involvement. As me and FX Trader was talking about on Saturday, is that the government doesn't scam people. The government sets fundamental policies for performance, and that's the fundamental baseline of performance. Anything above that, they don't give a shit. Anything below that, they start fining and penalizing people. So if everybody's offering minimum wage above the federal limit and above the state limit, even if it doesn't meet living wage, even if it's still a gap, it's above what the state or the federal government would expect you to get in the first place. So they're not going to reevaluate to determine we should raise the minimum wage. Well, why? Everybody's already getting above minimum wage, so like 3, 5, 7, $10 above minimum wage. Nobody's going to discuss it. It's not a floor topic as a result. So um, yes, that's exactly why working sucks. And that's why I tell you guys to work for yourself. That's exactly why I tell you guys to work for yourself. Because if you're living in a state right now where minimum wage is, say, $10 an hour, and your boss is paying you $15 an hour, and they're giving you a 5 cent raise every quarter, where you're ending up with 20 to 25 cent raise a year, you are not getting what you feel you are valued, but you're being paid $5 more than the minimum wage. So you can't really complain to anybody because they're overpaying you in comparison to what the federal government and the local state government believes you should get. Partially, that is the 300 something million Americans' fault for not going to their local legislation and complaining about minimum wage levels to make it mandatory that minimum wage is upward of $20 an hour. If we start arguing what living wage should look like and make minimum wage match living wage, if we started doing that, we would start seeing a hell of a lot more effort into the wage scales. So instead of them raising wages, because you have incentivized pay scales that keeps companies paying employees above minimum wage. If you learn a certain number of skills on a job, you get a nickel to a quarter raise for each position that you learn. So even though you're an hourly wage employee, if you know how to do the whole job by yourself, you're getting $1.50 more than what we normally hire people, which is still $7 an hour above minimum wage. You're doing all the work by yourself because you can, but you're getting paid the price of one person while doing the work of five. This is going to be why work sucks. But if you work for yourself, you'll be getting paid by the client, not paid by the hour. And the more clients that you can accomplish in less than an hour, the more money you make in less than an hour. And if you can automate most of the shit, the more clients that interacts with your platform, the more money your platform makes, even when you're not fucking with your platform. He said, that doesn't seem to work with these politicians. That's because there ain't nobody talking to the politicians. You can't name your local representatives right now. I can't either. But you can't name your local representatives right now. You couldn't tell me off the top of your head 5 people that represents your local government. I'm not talking about the president. I'm not talking about the Congress. I'm talking about who runs your city. Probably couldn't even tell me what the mayor of your city is. Who is the governor? You. Okay, one guy, Ryan Bizarro. Okay, one guy. And how many times have you talked to Ryan? Have you had dinner with Ryan? Have you and Ryan sat down somewhere and sipped on some Starbucks coffee and talked about how this shit is expensive? Have you sent him an email? You know Ryan Bizarro. Have you faxed him a letter yet? Have you sent him a certified mail to his office? Do you even know the address to mail him shit? Do you know an email to send him an email? Do you even know if he reads his emails? The fact is, we're so disconnected from our local politicians that we can't complain. So, if state level would have a higher impact on our local wage than federal level, if we're not going to our local legislative, if we're not going to our local town halls, if we're not going to the stuff that would directly impact the wage discussion, because all it takes is for one broke motherfucker to stand up and say, I'm broke as fuck and I'm doing too much fucking work. And everybody else in the room is going to stand up and be like, hell yeah. The same way they did when one person stood up and said, the Mexicans are stealing our jobs. And then everybody was like, oh yeah, they're stealing our jobs. Then you deported the Mexicans, and for every one Mexican you deported, four Americans lost a job. Wait, if they were stealing your jobs, don't you think more people would be getting hired and less people getting fired? No, 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 no. That's because the Mexicans weren't stealing your jobs. Americans weren't paying Americans as much as Americans were paying Mexicans because more Mexicans will come to work than Americans. Hmm. I'm just trying to tell y'all. I ain't trying to knock you off no horses now. I'm just trying to let y'all know the reason why shit sucks is because we ignore our ability to be proactive with certain things, and because we don't be proactive with certain things, we're not able to manipulate the dynamics. We get pissed off when a millionaire goes and talks to a legislator and makes them change the policy. But think about this though, the outside of the dark money that's being passed around, and oh, I'm going to give you $1 million check, or I'm going to pay for your kids college tuition if you do what I say. Outside of those situations, the fundamental difference between what a millionaire is doing and what we're doing is that the rich guy got up out of his chair, left his house, went to the politician and said, I want change in my favor. The average broke motherfucker got up out of their chair, went to the fridge, grabbed some food, put it in the microwave, heated it up, came back, sat down, ate it, and said, sucks for society, and society sucks for me. That's that's a problem. He said, I wish someone would steal my job. I'm tired of being here. Can't compete with a super PAC. But a super PAC only happens because, look, it we can establish better relationships with our local government if we just apply ourselves. That's just the truth. If we know where they go to hang out, we can just hang out in their vicinity. We can have random conversations with them in passing. You can befriend them first and then start talking about how shit sucks in policy, right? And the more people that instead of standing outside of their office with picket signs bitching, if more people like, look, let me do a spreadsheet for you and show you how shit sucks. And then let me ask you, why have you not put the certain types of legislation to make this shit change? Then I've been talking to you about this for a number of years. I just want to remind you it's an election year, midterm elections, November 23rd, 2026. So I'm saying like some folks will be losing their job this year because we've been not satisfied over the past year or 2 years over what they've been doing if we just went and paid attention. So that's one of the reasons why like it is partially like economic problems, but it's individual effort that's not being applied to the change in the economic problem. But let's go ahead and talk about this standard of living wage. MIT's living wage calculator shows a staggering chasm between what the law allows and what life costs. Because while the federal minimum is $7.25 in many American cities, a living wage for a single adult with no children is going to be around $25 an hour. For a family, that's going to be much higher. This is just math. On one side, a legal floor of $7.25, and on the other side, a calculated cost of survival that is often more than 3 times higher than the legal floor. The gap between those two numbers where financial desperation is going to thrive. Many states have raised their own minimums. 30 states now have wages higher than the federal level. Florida, for example, will reach $15 an hour as a mandatory requirement by September 30th, 2026. But even these hard won victories often fall short because in many places, a $15 an hour wage is still far below the calculated living wage of, remember, I told you, $25 an hour. So you're ultimately still getting $10 an hour less than what you need to thrive. With the cost of living rising, a new kind of conflict has entered everyday lifestyles. And that's what I was telling Stephen we're going to be talking about today is tipping. Now, you've probably felt it. There's this awkward moment at the checkout screen. The suggested tip starts at 18%, 20%. If you were ever ordering from Walmart.com, it is automatically selected for you a specific 10% tip requirement, and you have to manually adjust it to I'm not tipping your ass. And sometimes the app will glitch on you deliberately where you have to click other and then select zero because it doesn't always allow you to click no tip. So you have to select zero tip so that it recalculates to no tip. Just saying. I done been doing Walmart.com for a while. I've been getting deliveries on a regular basis. I'm about to have 200 ounce worth of groceries get shipped real quick so that I don't got to go to the store. Uh, but this is going to raise a real question. Is tipping supposed to be optional, or are consumers quietly being forced to subsidize wages? Yeah, you didn't think I was going to come from this direction, huh, Steve? To understand this, we need to clear up one of the most confusing parts of the modern economy, the difference between a tip and a service charge. Under federal law, a tip is always voluntary. And that means that you, as the customer, have full control over the tip. You decide whether to leave one and how much. It cannot be required and it cannot be set by the business. The moment a charge becomes mandatory, like an automatic 18% added to your bill, it is no longer a tip. Okay. Legally, it becomes what is called a surcharge. And that distinction matters. A service charge is part of the price if it's properly disclosed before you order on the menu, a sign somewhere in the restaurant, at the register, at the hostess stand, on the door on your way in, or on the website. You are expected to pay it. It's just like the cost of the meal itself. But here's where things get murky. Many people assume that a mandatory gratuity goes directly to the server. That is not always true, which is why servers complain about the gratuity charge that is supposed to be tipped versus them actually getting tipped. Legally, service charges belong to the business. When they give that money to employees, it's treated as wages, not tips. So when you see that extra 18% on your bill, you're not necessarily tipping your server. You may just be paying part of the restaurant's payroll structure. Now, let's address the core issue here. What happens if a server doesn't earn enough tips? This does happen. The law is going to be clear. The employer, not the customer, is responsible for that. Under federal wage laws, businesses can pay tipped workers as little as $2.13 an hour, but there is a condition. If tips don't bring that worker up to at least the standard minimum wage, which you have to recognize that it is 7.50 as a standard minimum wage for federal, and in some states it's upward of $15 of minimum wage for state. So if the business is going to pay $2.13 or $2.50 an hour for the server, the other $5 to $10 an hour, $13 an hour worth of tipping has to come from the customer. And if it doesn't, the employer must make up the difference, not the customer, the employer. So the idea that customers are required to tip in order for workers to survive is not a legal requirement. And it is going to be recognized as a cultural expectation that has grown out of a flawed system, but it is not a legal requirement. However, I do want to make another side note and remind you, if you decide that you want to go somewhere where servers are going to be there, and you are going to be the kind of person that is intending on leaving a tip, you should have the ability to evaluate the restaurant, evaluate the quality of the restaurant from the restaurant's reviews, determine the quantity of tip that you want to give. If you want to give a 20% tip on $100 worth of stuff you plan on buying, then bring $120 plus taxes. If you're going to bring a $20 tip for $55 worth of stuff, you want to bring $75. And then go to the restaurant and hand the tip to the server upon first contact with your server. That is going to be the way that you get better treatment. If you walked up to the bar in a dive bar and you just slid $10 to the bartender before even asking for anything, and hey, that's you. That's it. I ain't even looked at the menu yet. I don't know what I want, but that's yours. Sweet is gonna be what you're gonna say. Fuck, I got $10. I ain't have to do shit. Now, whenever you call their name, what can I get for you? They're gonna prioritize you over everybody else, where they had to hope you paid the bill, and then if you put a tip on it, because every server does it, if you give it time, they always look at the check to see if you tip before they process it in the system. They always do it. They're so desperate for money that when you put your credit card into the book, they don't open the book to see if your credit card is in the book. They open a book to see what the tip was before they go to the back to go register the tip. Y'all think it's a joke. So if you handed them the tip at the beginning, and if you practice this, you start learning how to discreetly hand them the tip. If you hand them the tip at the beginning, they don't got to look at the check to see if you tipped them. You already gave them the money before they sat out. And if you're going to be overly demanding, you're probably going to tip them 25% and then be overly demanding. So if you plan on ordering $100 worth of stuff, you gave them $25 or $30 before you sat down. Then whatever the fuck you asked for, they're just gonna run back and forth and get you whatever you're gonna get. Because I mean, shit, I just gave you like I just gave you more money when I sat down than what you've made in the last hour, in the last 2, sometimes 3 hours. Especially if you go to a restaurant on a slow day and you're gonna tip them good. This might actually cover their fucking spread if they're getting paid $2.13 and they just got $30 from me. That might be their whole fucking day. I might be the one customer that kept them from going broke and being able to put gas in the car so they can bring their ass to work tomorrow. I'm gonna get the best treatment because I covered the spread. But I went in there with the intention to cover the spread. I didn't calculate the tip based off of how much they charged me at the end. So those people get whatever everybody else is getting. I'm getting inflated treatment, right? Now, you got to understand the system that we've been dealing with our economic expectations is now colliding with the system, right? As prices rise, more businesses are turning to automatic service charges to create predictable revenue. But this creates a new problem, which is transparency. Across many states, the rule is going to be simple. If a mandatory fee is going to be charged, it must be clearly disclosed before you order. If the first time you see a service charge is at the end of the meal on the final bill, you have strong grounds to challenge it as a hidden fee. At that point, it is not part of the agreed upon price. It is an after the fact addition. And this is going to be where the frustration is going to be coming from. Customers feel pressured to pay more. Workers feel dependent on inconsistent income. And the businesses are caught in the middle trying to stabilize costs. But forcing customers to tip isn't going to be the solution. The real solution is structural, higher base wages, clearer pricing, and transparency about where the fucking money is actually going once you take it from the customer. Because the end of the day, we have to recognize wages should be paid by the employers, not negotiated at the dinner table. Now, let's answer the question that everybody has, but almost nobody wants to ask out loud. If the restaurant already added a mandatory gratuity or service fee to your bill, are you supposed to tip again on top of that? Legally, the answer is no. A clearly disclosed mandatory service charge or automatic gratuity is part of the price of the meal, just like the food and the taxes. Once that charge is on your bill, you are expected to pay that exact fee and only that fee. Any money that you add beyond that is a true tip, completely voluntary and based on your personal judgment of the service. Industry guidance and consumer advice makes the same point that if a restaurant has already added 18 to 20% as an automatic gratuity, that amount is intended to cover the customary tip. So you are not required to stack another tip on top of that unless you want to reward exceptional service or if you want to bribe them in the beginning for exceptional service. The problem is that many bills still show up with a blank tip line, even when a service charge or automatic gratuity has already been added. That empty line makes people feel like they're being asked to pay twice, once through the mandatory fee and again through the suggested tip line. And if you don't put that tip up there, servers are pissed off about the fact that they don't see tip amounts in that suggested tip line. In reality, that second tip line is optional. It's an invitation, not an obligation, even though it's treated as an expectation. So here's the rule of thumb that you can use at the table. If you see a clearly disclosed automatic gratuity or a service charge, you are paying the required amount for the service. Anything you choose to write in that extra tip line is on you. It's a personal choice, not a legal or moral requirement. It's a cost of living crisis that we have to pay attention to. And understanding this is going to matter in order to fix the living crisis for yourself. You shouldn't feel guilty for declining to double tip when the business has already built a mandatory fee into the price. The real responsibility for fair pay is going to belong with the employers and the lawmakers, not with the customers trying to survive at the grocery store. So that's going to be the bigger point. When we blur the lines between price fees and the tips, we end up quietly shifting the burden of wages onto the customers instead of fixing the underlying problem, which is wages that don't match reality. So, with over half the country financially sinking, what is being done about it? Y'all are going to hate this part. When you look at the recent actions and proposals at the federal level, you can see a disconnect between the solutions offered and the problem people are facing. Let's look at the facts. In recent months, there's been no major new federal law passes to provide a direct, broad based cash infusion to immediately help most struggling workers. For example, seniors on Social Security are getting a 2.8% cost of living adjustment or COLA for their 2026 payments, which they're probably going to start seeing going into 2027. While that's better than nothing, it doesn't fully compensate for the brutal inflation of the past few years. And it does nothing for the millions of working age people not on Social Security. Uh, there have also been proposals aimed at long term wealth building, such as creating new investment accounts for children, the Trump accounts. But for a family that can't afford groceries this week, a locked savings account for their newborn is a complete mismatch for the crisis that they're living in. If you have the extra money to throw down on your kids' future, that might work, but it is post tax money, not pre tax money. So you don't get a deductible or anything to that effect to put money into your kid's account. It's just money gone. It's like offering a life raft that won't inflate for 18 years to someone who is drowning right now. It does nothing to address the immediate crushing pressure of the daily expenses that is driving that 55% number. The reality is that major policy levers that could provide immediate relief, like a significant increase in the federal minimum wage or an expansion of the direct cash supports, are not the focus of the current conversations in Washington. This lack of urgent direct action reinforces the feeling that people are on their own. Welcome to capitalism. He said, too busy to add tariffs to Canada for wildfire smoke. Well, shit. They didn't fuck with Canada enough because after Trump hit Canada with tariffs, Canada stopped buying alcohol from America, which cost America what, $800 billion. America's hurting. They're not making as much money as they was making off of Canada. Then Canada doubled down on the situation and taxed Americans 25% more for their electricity costs. So not only is American manufacturers not making as much money on the alcohol industry, the northern states that are getting electricity from Canada are paying a surplus 25% more for their electric bill before the war with Iran happened. So if you're expecting a 5 or 10% increase on your electric bill from the war, some states like Minnesota and stuff to that effect that are getting electricity from Canada are experiencing a 35% increase on their electric bill. Wealthy people can afford to cover that increase. But if your light bill was $200 a month and now your light bill is $270 a month, that hurts because you didn't get a raise. You're just paying more fucking money for the same service. So if they start taxing Canada because smoke is crossing the border, they gonna fuck around and turn the power off. Canada gonna be like, no more power for New York. Pew! Now, if systemic help isn't on the way, what can you guys actually do about what's going on right now? This is going to be the toughest part because there are no easy answers. So I'm not going to tell you that if you just budget better or get a side hustle, that these massive problems are going to disappear. That would be an insult to your struggle. You cannot budget your way out of a system where costs are rising faster than your paycheck. However, it doesn't mean that you are powerless. The goal in this environment is resilience. It's going to be about taking control of the small things that you can control to create a buffer against the big things that you can't control. So, first, and this is going to be the most boring but critical advice, you want to track everything, like I told you guys for the shutdowns. For 30 days, you want to track every single dollar that leaves your account, not just your bills, the $5 coffee, the $12 lunch, the streaming subscriptions that you forgot that you had, You might be shocked at what you still find after I've told you 5 times since October to do this. Knowing exactly where your money is going is going to be the first step to redirecting. Second, you want to become a warrior against junk fees and hidden charges. Our economy is filled with a lot of these hidden fees and charges. One area this is going to be common is in those restaurants. So you need to understand the difference between a tip and a service charge before you even decide to go out to eat. Tips are voluntary, service charges or automatic gratuity is mandatory only if it is clearly disclosed to you before your order. So that means you should read the menu and the fine print because when they disclose it, it might be in an 8-point font in the trim of the menu, but because it's there, they did their part. You looked at the pictures and pointed at stuff, and you didn't read the small print, and you got fucked over. You must read the small print. You must look for the copyright date on the fucking menu. You want to look for the publisher's name on the fucking menu. And by the time you find the copyright date and the publisher's name, you will have found if there is mandatory gratuity or not. But if you just look at the nifty pictures and the ingredients that's written right up underneath the picture, you will not see in the borders of the menu where they've got gratuity, they've got service charge fees, they've got disposal fee. You got buffets that charge you to take food out. You can eat as much as you want, but if you get any of it to go, they're going to charge you for it. You got some buffets where if you don't finish your plate, they charge you for it. So you've got to really think about how you're going to wrap this shit up. Put some of this shit in my pocket, stuff all of it in my mouth. We got to figure this out. I went to an all you can eat sushi buffet and they were like, "Oh yeah, uh it's like what, 25 cents a roll for a sushi roll for the little pieces, 25 cents if you don't finish it." So what do? I put like 5 or 7 of them motherfuckers in my mouth and go to the register and be like, because I ain't paying for this shit. I'll swallow it before we get to the traffic light. So you guys gotta remember, if a mandatory fee appears on your bill without prior disclosures, you can and you should challenge it. And I also know there are some situations where they're gonna make you pay for your stuff on your way out the door, and that's fine. You pay for it with your debit or credit card, and then you call the bank and you challenge the payment. And then you start talking about them overcharging you. That's why you're disputing the charge. They're overcharging you for the transaction because the item that you paid for is X, Y, and Z for the item, and now they're charging you this hidden fee that was nowhere in their policies or procedures. And the bank will work with the consumer, and more often than not, they get your money back. Right? You can also, if you've got that Karen style behavior and a lot of free time on your hands, you can also take legal action against the lack of advertisements and stuff to that effect because that's a civil dispute more than it is a criminal charge for them to charge you for something that they didn't properly post. But inadequate advertisement could lead to legal action that could get you the type of settlement where you're never going to eat there again, but they're going to cut that bullshit out because they ended up in a massive lawsuit and they had to settle out of court because they didn't post their prices. But you want to make sure that you question every mystery fee on your phone bill, cable bill, and your bank statement. And even when you go to a hotel, I don't give a fuck how many times they swear to you that you're going to get that money back. You make sure that you use a debit or credit card that you can track, and you make sure that when they tell you that it's a refundable fee, that once you check out you get your money back, you make sure that fucking money hits your account. Make sure it hits your account. And if it don't, you want to dispute the charge. You want to dispute the charge because it's supposed to be a refundable whatever, that upon termination of your arrangement with them, that you were supposed to get the money back and you terminated that arrangement, so many days have passed, they haven't returned the money. What are they keeping it for? Steven says, I need $1 million settlement. The best way to get $1 million settlement is for false advertisement, fraud, illegal processes and procedures. Civil action is the place to go, and you might not get $1 million off of it, but a lot of the times you can get $50,000 to $150,000 just because somebody did it wrong. If you know the local laws in your city and state, you can be one of the, like those First Amendment auditors. You can be a restaurant auditor. Every now and again, there's going to be a mom and pop shop that thinks that they can get over on people by doing certain things, and they'll slide you a bill thinking that they can get away with that because nobody's ever done anything about it. They just paid the bill, got pissed off, and never came back. But you can look at that shit and say, "Oh no, they're charging people hidden fees, blah blah blah. City, state, local law says X, Y, and Z, blah blah blah, and they're doing is look, and I got pictures. I got pictures. Look at the menu. Nothing there. Look at the restaurant. Nothing on the buildings. Nothing outside. Nothing at the register. Nowhere is it posted that this is going to be a thing. And look at their website. Nothing's there. And then on their bill, look at this bill. What's this? They know. They just say, "Oh, it's gratuity." Gratuity means tip. What's the tip for? All right. Bad service. On top of that, so I didn't even get my money's worth for the employee's effort. So you could go that way, right? But that requires a lot more work, and not a lot of people have the money to put it. Not a lot of people have the time or the money to put in that kind of effort to get that kind of pay. But if you're like one of those First Amendment auditors that got all the time in the world to get out there and kick off some shit, and you got all the time in the world to sit in civil court to get that money, you make more money off of one settlement than what you would work in 5 years. Hey, make that money, because America is one of the largest, what we call frivolous lawsuit countries. But if you go to Asia, like everything out there is a legal action. So you think that you get charged and drug into and locked up for all kind of little insignificant bullshit. Go to Asia. Go to Asia. You'll find yourself sitting in a holding cell for eating a pizza on a fucking bus. You think it's crazy here in America? It's crazy over there, right? So just remember, guys, if tips are voluntary, why do some companies make you pay the tip? We're going to break down that law, because since under the laws in most states, tips are gratuity. It is completely voluntary for you not to tip. The core principles are going to be that the customer must give it freely and have the unrestricted right to determine the amount. So it cannot be dictated by the employer. That money belongs to the employees. A service charge, on the other hand, is going to be mandatory. This is going to be that 18% service charge or automatic gratuity for parties of 6 or more that you're going to sometimes see on your menus. Under the IRS rules, this is not a tip. It is a fee that's part of the price. And when it's passed on to the staff, it's treated as wages, not tips. Okay. I appreciate you for coming to the show. Thank you very much. They over here looking at my smile. You're supposed to be paying attention to the facts. But I appreciate you coming through. Now, if this is going to bring us to where we are, we just covered the junk fees. We just covered paying attention to the menu, paying attention to the restaurants, avoiding those non-disclosed mandatory fees. Oh, places like California, New York, and Texas are dealing with this particular type of issue. Hidden fees are going to be deceptive. So there's going to be situations where you can politely but firmly inform the manager that the fee was not disclosed before you ordered, and therefore you did not agree to it, and then you can ask them to remove it. Doesn't mean they will. This isn't about being cheap. It's about refusing to pay for hidden charges that you never agreed to. So let's be clear. Yeah, you've seen some of those social media videos where they will see the surcharge on their receipt, and then they will write negative whatever the surcharge was in the tip line, and then put the adjusted amount on there of what the food costs with taxes minus the gratuity. That is a way that you can express to the employer that you do not consent to and will not agree to paying that gratuity when that gratuity wasn't um, mandatorily posted everywhere else. Because some companies can suggest that as the expected tip amount, but and then tell you what that amount is supposed to be. And if you just sign the card and don't contest it, then they'll just charge you the gratuity. But if you tell them no, take that $18.74 off of my bill because I'm not paying for that, then they got to take it off, right? So you got to understand, forcing customers to pay the fees isn't the solution to the low pay scales. You got to understand that the real solutions are going to be systemic raises in the minimum wage and ending the sub minimum wage for tip workers. We shouldn't even have sub minimum wage. Servers should be getting paid minimum wage, flat rate, and then if they get tipped voluntarily for doing an excellent job, they just get more money. Then we have to create transparent service charge models so wages, not customer obligations, cover a worker's livelihood, not the company's overhead. Third, we want to talk about the income because while one job should be enough, the current reality for many is that it's not. So, exploring ways to diversify your income is now a defensive strategy. Now, this doesn't have to mean driving for a ride share service for 20 hours. Because, I mean, I know that people will find themselves subsidizing their time and putting extra miles on their vehicle so that they can bring in extra cash. Could you turn a hobby into a small side business? Probably so. Could you use your professional skills for a few hours of freelance work online? More than likely. Even an extra few $100s a month can be a game changer in some situations. It can be the difference between breaking even and falling behind. It can be the money that you finally use to build a small emergency fund. It could be something that it helps you upgrade your current economic status, right? The goal here isn't to make you a millionaire off of covering the spread. It's to give you a silver spoon or sliver of control that leads you to that silver spoon in an economic environment that feels chaotic and overwhelming. Now, we started with the number 55%. 55% of Americans feel their finances are getting worse. But as we've seen, this is so much more than just a number. It's the mathematical reality of wages that can't keep up with the soaring cost of essentials. It's the shock of a volatile energy market and the grinding pressure of housing costs that consumes your paycheck. It's the fear of medical bills that could bankrupt you and the impossible choice between working and affording childcare. It is the direct consequences of a system where, for decades, the rewards of economic growth have flowed to the top, while the cost and risks have been pushed down onto the working families. Now, the strong economy that you hear about on the news is going to feel like a party that you weren't invited to, but you're still being asked to clean up the mess. The most important takeaway here is going to be this: if you are part of that 55%, if your struggling is real and it is excessively valid and it is highly shared, you are not a failure. You are a participant in an economy that is fundamentally struggling to provide a basic, secure life for the majority of its people. Because when we got well over 350 million Americans And 55% of them means that we've got well over 185 or 200 million Americans suffering right now. That's a lot of people. So if you're understanding the numbers behind the struggle, that's going to be the first step. It doesn't pay your rent or fill up your gas tank, but it does sometimes provide you with something a little bit more critical and very important. It arms you with the truth. It allows you to replace self blame with righteous anger. It allows you to see the problem not as a personal failure, but as a collective crisis that demands a collective solution. And in an economy like the one that we're in, the truth is going to be one of the most valuable assets that you have. So if tonight's show gave you some clarity or maybe you feel seen, make sure that you subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Mash those reaction buttons, hit that like button, click on the notification button because we've got all the shows that you could possibly want to see for the next couple of months because we're still stacking up shows going all the way into the September. The more that we understand these issues, the better equipped we are to navigate them. And I highly recommend that you check out some of the other ones that we're going to be looking at because we're going to be taking an even deeper dive into the affordability crisis and what it would actually take to fix it. So that's all I got for you guys for tonight. That was a pretty lengthy, and it only took us 2 hours to cover it. I thought we were going to be here for an extra hour. That's okay. We covered a lot of stuff regardless. Um, yeah, the economy is going to get better for us financially over time. If we budget and we save what we don't need, we can build up a resistance towards this inflated lifestyle. We can develop a level of security if we make different decisions. Like right now, Stephen, you're looking at additional housing in different locations. It might be cheaper for you to stay in a place where you cohabitate with somebody that you're familiar with. A lot of people feel like, well, things are getting better. I can change my scenario and start spending more money on the convenience of being on my own. Sometimes you need to just bunker down like the Mexicans that have 5 or 10 people living in the same place and just kind of rough it for 5 or 10 years and take that extra money that you're not spending on your standard of living so that you can build up a financial fortress against this type of bullshit. Lifestyle creep is one of the most devastating things that we all ignore. We'll blame inflation, we'll blame the Republicans, we'll blame the Democrats, we'll blame crooked politicians, we'll blame society, but lifestyle creep is going to be the biggest contributor to inflation. Because if you didn't have extra money to pay for extra shit, you wouldn't be buying extra shit. But if you wasn't buying extra shit with the extra money that you had, you'd have extra money to invest so that you no longer have to struggle with this shit. All right. He said, can we cover a show on ways to deal with anger better in unreasonable situations? Yes. How unreasonable of a situation are you talking about? Because first, I can give you some step-by-step guides that I can throw into the membership over the next 24 hours so that you can kind of see where I'm going to cover when I do cover it. But then I can actually cover the show and potentially throw in some unorthodox um, anger triggering scenarios and then some ways to resolve those. But just to be sure that I hit one of your pain points, yeah, I know in general, but not necessarily like, okay, so you have like anger at the workplace, anger at home, anger at school, anger in society, like at the grocery store or something like that, anger when you're dealing with police officers, like there's different areas of like different parts of your life where people piss you off. So I was just kind of figuring like which realm I found myself trying to reason with unreasonable people lately. Well, first and foremost, you're going to be dealing with so much frustration. And I can tell you before I even start covering this topic, your short temperedness is going to be due to burnout and fatigue with the things that you got going on in your life. Now, before we start dealing with unreasonable people, you have to In order for you to determine that someone else is being unreasonable, you have to understand what you are entitled to in this situation. And the less leverage you have in a situation, the less entitlement you have in a situation. Say, for example, talking to your employer about a wage, you have an entitlement to the wages that they wrote into your contract. That is going to be on the employee websites, that is going to be in the employee handbook. Anything above that, you're not entitled to. While you wish you would get it, if they don't give it to you, it's not an entitlement, it's a benefit, not a mandatory requirement. So you can't argue with your employer about something that you're not entitled to. When you think about going first in line at a grocery store, somebody can cut the line. It could be very inconvenient for you. There's no entitlement in a first come, first serve situation. It's a social expectation that you don't cut the line, but it is not an entitlement that you must go first. If you leave early enough, the patience that you can have to allow somebody to cut in front of you and get their shit out of the way, they might be going through way more bullshit right now than you are. And they might spend way more time at the front desk than you will, and you might end up being called up to a different desk with somebody with a lot more patience than the first person that was about to be called. And you might get out of there before the person that cut you in line. I know that if you've been driving in traffic and somebody cuts you off in traffic and you find yourself passing them at the traffic light, where they went through all that trouble to burn past you on the interstate, wasting all that gas to be the first person to get to the traffic light, and you're sitting at the same fucking traffic light they're sitting in. A lot of the times you just gotta just let them go because it's not worth you stressing over. But when you're like in class and you're trying to negotiate with your teacher about a grade, or if you've got a student project and you're trying to negotiate with lazy people in your project to perform, a lot of the times you don't have to negotiate with certain people. Take the student project. Instead of trying to rationalize with the student that's not performing, you notify the teacher of the underperforming student. Then you just take over their workload. The teacher, one, will not partner you with them again. Two, base your grade off of the performing students, which will, three, have the underperforming student get a bad grade. Plain and simple. If you're the only person productive in the group, you can talk to the teacher about having an underproductive group. The teacher will either allow you to do the project on your own or remove you from that group and put you into a productive group, which takes the stress off your plate. If the problem is with the teacher, teacher's the authority, you don't talk to the teacher about having a problem with the teacher. You talk to the teacher's boss about having a problem with the teacher. So when it comes down to, and I'm still going to cover the show, but I can just tell you specifically, unreasonable means that there is a reasonable way to accomplish this. Unfavorable means that I don't like the way this shit's going. But realistically, based on the decisions that I made, the situations outside of my control, and it's kind of going down this way, and there's not much I can do about it. Right? Like, for example, uh, police officer pulls you over for window tint when you don't have window tint. Then they decide that it was about a traffic light, and there's no traffic lights on the road. Then they tell you it's about a headlight when they've been behind you the whole time. They didn't have a reason to pull you over. This is an unreasonable traffic stop. But you have to recognize, what is the reason why you want to talk to me today? Because I haven't done anything wrong, and you don't have a legitimate reason to talk to me today that you've talked to me about so far. Do you need somebody to hang out with you? We can have a cup of coffee, whatever. But I mean, if you're legitimately not issuing me a citation for doing something wrong, you know, now is the time for me to mosey on. And I know that there's legal terminology like, am I detained? Am I free to leave? Blah, 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 blah. You can do things like, here, look, I've been thinking, because the law indicates that you must make present, visible, your driver's license, proof of insurance, and registration upon request. A lot of people will like slam their shit against the glass. Truth be told, under the law, there is no restriction as to how you present the information. So you can show them without giving it to them your driver's license, your proof of insurance, and your registration from inside of the car, but hand them an 8 by 11 piece of paper that has a digital copy of your driver's license, proof of insurance, and registration scanned on a piece of paper and hand them that. And they're going to tell you, oh, I don't want that. I want the actual one. And it's like, look, if you need something to take to the car with you, what's on that paper is what's on my window. You can take that paper to the car. You can verify anything. And if you find something out of whack, you can come and arrest me for it. But if all you need is these identification cards that you can clearly see are inside of the vehicle, I am legally not required to give it to you. I am supposed to show you that it's here. And I am volunteering through the window a piece of paper that has all of the information that you're looking for that you can verify from your squad car. Now, what this does is it prevents them from holding you hostage because they still got your ID, your insurance card, and all this other stuff. They can give you an accusation and say, well, if you don't give me the official document, then I can't do X, Y, and Z. That's fine. You saw it in the car. So if you don't want to move forward with it, you can issue me a citation for not giving it to you. I'm okay with that. We can talk about it with the judge. But I'm not going to sit here for 45 minutes because you don't want to accept a copy of the documents that you see clearly pressed up against the glass. That's not going to work for either one of us. Again, you're clearly standing on because your lack of frustration will frustrate them, and their frustration will put you at peace. You're still going to be nervous. You're still going to be a little bit frustrated, but you're not going to be nearly as frustrated as them. And once you realize that you've got more control over the situation than they do because you know your rights, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're dealing with less unreasonable people because I mean, especially when you're dealing with men, once you point out that this is not reasonable, this is not realistically feasible, they kind of fold on the conversation outside of wanting to assert their authority. And you know when somebody's trying to assert their authority, they're trying to assert their authority when you point out how what they're doing is wrong. And then they go back to restating why they're talking to you and why they're doing it wrong and why they're saying what they're saying. You already told me that. You are now repeating a script. I'm pointing out to you that you are wrong. You are not providing any information to refute that, or dispel that. So you've acknowledged that you're wrong. I've acknowledged that you're wrong, and you're repeating the same information that you discussed with me before you realized that you were wrong. Now that we both understand that you were wrong, if there's no new information that you're going to provide to me, then I would like to leave. Plain and simple. Unless I'm under arrest, I would like to leave. I'm not willing to stay detained for no reason. So unless I'm under arrest, I would like to leave. And ultimately, at some point, they gotta let you go. Same thing if you're arguing with your boss about having to do side work that's not yours. Same thing with negotiating with a friend about not doing what you want them to do. The same way with debating with a family member about respecting your personal space. Once you point out that we have an understanding, you have a performance expectation that is not being performed, repeating yourself as to why you're not performing to my expectations doesn't resolve the situation. I need you to perform or get out of my face. And sometimes I need you to perform or get out of my life. That's a breakup. But yes, I'll definitely cover that for you. I'm gonna do some extensive research and I'm gonna find so and I'm gonna have to rearrange some of my shows so that I can do it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check um and I've already wrote the majority of the scripts for July. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into one of the shows in August that I haven't already written a script for. I'm going to post it up and I'm going to let you know which day it is so that you can see it, and that way you'll have it coming soon. And between now and then, I will do the detailed information and then put it into the membership. But really and truly, one of the best ways to work on your anger management is to stop giving a fuck about the shit that you can't control. That's going to be the first thing that you got to do. You can only control what you're in charge of and what the people that cooperate with you are willing to do. Anything that other people are not willing to do, if it does not prevent you from performing, fuck it, let it go. It they might have went out the exit or went out the entrance door and came in the exit door. They might have double parked in a no parking lane. They might have put their car inconveniently behind your car. But if you can get your car out of that space, just get your car out of the space. It is what it is. You know, you really you have to. So my advice is gonna again be you got to pick your battles because as men we fight our entire life. We fight for what's right. We fight for what's fair. And a lot of the times we fight against what is not reasonable in that situation. We forget what it's like to let shit go. You cannot win every battle to win the war. You're going to have to take a loss and let some shit go. I remember I was at a FedEx and I had parked my car on the side in the handicap parking space. Now, the parking lot sucks because I have handicap decals and everything on it, but the parking lot sucks because regular parking was directly behind my car. So I go to back up and a car pulls right up behind my vehicle. They see me backing up and they stop their car in a parking space directly behind my car. I could have gone the extra mile and tried to 3-point turn my vehicle out of the parking space and left, but I didn't. I got out of my car because I had nothing else to do. I went into the FedEx, and with a line of people in the thing, I let them know, hey, you parked behind my disabled vehicle. And then I told them one more thing. I don't even have power steering. So now we're sitting outside in the car waiting on your vehicle to move so that we can get out of the space. Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you serious? And I'm like, yes, I am serious. And I went back outside, sat in the car. She didn't even get a chance to finish her business. She came outside and seen my car, engine running and all, sitting in the car with the door sitting open, waiting on her to get in her vehicle. And she moved her damn vehicle. And when she moved her vehicle, I had to back my car all the way up, wrap it around the building, and I'm talking about like a 70-degree turn, and then pull my car out. Clearly, car had no power steering. She was like, "Oh shit!" And when she looked off to the side, whole handicap space right there. She felt bad. I didn't feel nothing because at the end of the day, it didn't matter to me. I had all the time in the world. I could wait. Now I could have been pissed off. I could have done a 3-point turn and I could have pulled out. It all depends on how much time I've got. If I've got time to sit here and argue with you my rights, I'll argue with you my rights. I take my service animal with me everywhere I go. Most people will want to have a conversation with me about my service animal. Sometimes I pull out my service animal ID card and let them know, no, my dog is a registered service animal, and then just walk away because I showed them the ID card. Some people, I have the time and the patience to educate them on my rights. There was one time I was trying to get on a plane, and a flight attendant that wasn't even part of my flight decided to come and tell me what I couldn't do on a plane. She's like, "Oh, you can't have your dog like that." And I'm like, "Well, I already paid for the flight, and the flight's boarded, so and I didn't bring anything with me to change the way we travel. So, I mean, this is what we're gonna do on this flight." And so we'll talk to your supervisor and get back to me. If the plane doesn't leave before you get back to me, we can talk about it. I went and I sat down. She did not come back. I notified the airline that I got harassed by a flight attendant, even though the dog is on the airplane ticket. They have the dog listed by name on the airplane ticket. So the airline knew the dog was getting on the plane. So why are you talking to me about it? I don't care. You need to mind your business. I'm gonna mind mine. But on that flight, I got extra snacks, 3 cups of coffee. I'm sorry. Right. For somebody who wasn't even flying on my flight. I could have made a big deal about it. I could have argued with the woman. They could have got security. I could have been escorted. I could have missed my flight. All kind of stuff could have happened. But I just left it as it's up to you to figure this out because I'm already gonna go. I'm gonna go to sit down on a plane and I'm gonna let you figure this out with whoever you need to talk to. Because I'm not even I'm at a connection. I'm not at my starting point. I'm not at my destination. I'm at the layover. So what are you gonna do? since they already let me come half of my way. This airline let me come halfway. So what are you going to do to stop me from getting the rest of the way? That's an unreasonable conversation if I'm on a connector flight. Had it been the starting flight, we could have had this conversation. But just to show you, like, really and truly, sometimes stupid is what stupid does, and you just gotta let that shit go. Sometimes, if you know your rights, you know what you can do, you know what you cannot do. Like, for example, I'm gonna give you another example before we go because we got plenty of time tonight. I was trying to go to a bank to do some business at a bank. I brought my firearm with me. I'm not walking into a financial establishment without a firearm. The financial establishment has a problem with that. I don't. I explained to the financial establishment, I said, look, I'm trying to collect the paperwork for a transaction. And I'm going to fill out the paperwork and then come back with the paperwork so that I'm not inside of the establishment with the firearm. That was my idea. They wanted me to stay in the establishment while they create the document so that I can electronically sign in the establishment. Then when they see the firearm, they tell me, oh, you can't be in here with that. Yes, I can. Second Amendment says I can. Well, we have a policy. I don't care about your policy. I don't want to be here. I came for a printout. You want me to stay here and sign a digital copy. That is your choice, not mine. You could have printed out the paperwork and let me go, and I could have mailed you back the results. You are the reason why I'm inside of the building, not me. So you could call the police right now, and they're not going to do anything about the situation because it's my constitutional right to be in the building with the firearm. What the guy didn't understand was I didn't want to be there. He was forcing me to stay to do a transaction with the bank. He's not withdrawing my right to premises, so he can't trespass me off of the property because he's insisting that I stay. So as a result, I'm only staying if I've got my firearm with me, and if not, I'm leaving with my firearm. But I am leaving with this transaction accomplished. I guarantee you, I got the transaction done without taking the gun off my hip, and I made it clear. The only time it comes out of the hip if I'm discharging a firearm. So if you're asking me to draw my firearm, you really need to rethink your position. And even in that scenario, he made it clear, you know, I was just to let you know what the policies were, and I made it clear to him, I don't know what the policy, I don't care what the policies are. Notice how he tried to reassert his authority by reminding me of what the sticker was on the door. I don't give a fuck what the sticker was on the door because if I cared what the sticker was on the door, I would have saw the no firearm and turned around and walked away. I seen it and I walked in anyway and told you, hey, can you print this out for me real quick? I'm a wait for it outside. It took all of 5 minutes of my day. I got that bank document, filled everything out, submitted it to the same bank, and I don't have problems with that bank. Now when I go into that bank, oh, how you doing? We best friends now. But do I leave my pistol in the car? No, no, no. I don't go places where I can't bring my firearm unless I have to be in a court doing a court case. That's probably the only place that I don't go without my firearm. Everywhere else, if I can't bring my firearm with me legally, I'm not going there. So will I be at a local dive bar? Will I be at a public concert? Will I be anywhere where they're going to tell me that I could get arrested for having a firearm here? Not going to be there. What does that do? That keeps me out of unnecessary trouble, which means trouble's got to come and find me because I'm not out there at Whiskey North over there off of Dale Mabry where everybody getting shot up talking about some I'm gonna bring my pistol so that when I hear gunshots I can shoot back. No, I'm not going there. Unnecessary conflict. So when we start talking about dealing with unreasonable people, first you got to ask yourself, are you putting yourself in an unreasonable situation? Secondly, are these the kind of people that you affiliate with on a regular basis because they might just be unreasonable because they're having a bad day? And then third, do you really need to resolve this situation with that person? Is this the only person you can talk to? Somebody else? I'll come back tomorrow and talk to somebody else when you're not here. Now you walk through the door and the same person that you talked to yesterday said, "No, I don't even want to talk to you. I want to talk to your boss." I just want to escalate it out the gate. Customer service number. I'll send somebody an email. You can resolve it. There's more than one way to resolve the situation. If it's got to be resolved with this entity, I can email, I can text, I can Zoom call somebody. I can call a 1-800 number. I don't need to talk to the person right here that's not cooperating with me. But you have to, for the life of me, Stephen, look for another way. Do not assume that I must go through this person to achieve my goals. Fuck that person. They've plateaued. Let me go talk to somebody that's successful so that I can succeed too. That is your mindset. That has got to be your mindset. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with a lot of unreasonable people. And a lot of times people are unreasonable because this is the least amount of authority that they can get their hands on. All of a sudden, I'm in charge of some shit and I'm going to piss somebody off because I've got control in a life that ultimately they don't have control. That's going to be where you're going to get unreasonable behavior from. They're going to deliberately refuse to perform their job to inconvenience you because they're getting paid by the hour for their presence, not for their performance. But anything customer service related, there is somebody there that is supposed to be monitoring customer satisfaction. And you want to ask that person, why are you as a customer not satisfied? And this person still has a job. You will get what you need majority of the time, if it is necessary. And if it is not necessary, you will let that shit go. Now, that's all I got for you guys for tonight. I'm going to make sure that I take notes so that I can set up that show for you. I'm going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you this information to make you guys higher value men, not just by improving your financial skills, but also by improving your decision-making skills. Ladies, this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective. You too can make yourselves higher value women. First of all, finding the things that are inside of your control. Finding the things that you don't like inside of your control. Change the things that you don't like. Then navigate around the things that are outside of your control. Spent the last half hour talking about exactly that. Navigating around the things that are outside of your control. Right? You'll have a more peaceful life. Okay? Now, ladies, also, you want to start building your 20 and 30-year plan. Then reverse engineer to what you can do today to start getting towards your 20 and 30-year plan. Then you want to put yourself in a position of paying attention, keeping your eyes and ears open for the potential suitor with the right personality and characteristics, drive, ambition, dedication, motivation, admiration, and integrity to accomplish his own goals. And you want to see what those goals are, see if those goals match up with your goals. If his goals are long-term satisfaction goals and your goals are long-term satisfaction goals, y'all could be heading in the right direction together, where y'all can help each other accomplish each other's goals. But if one of y'all got short-term gratification goals and the other one's got long-term satisfaction goals, you guys will find yourselves in a position where you'll be less satisfied more often than not with each other. But if you guys are both headed in the same direction, two people can make it to $1 million faster than one. So that's all I got for you guys for tonight. Special shout out to Steven, OG Kicks, FX Trader, Michael, Unc Andy, and Aztec. I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Higher ground!